In the late stages of cancer, I lay alone in my hospital bed waiting to die. The man I had loved for 10 years called me and said, "Lily can't handle this online attack. Nancy, help her out. You're helping me too." His words, though pleading, pierced my heart like a sharp knife. I did my best to stay calm and said, "Come see me once, and I'll agree." But I never got to see him. I died on the island on a night when the fireworks were the most beautiful, and then I was reborn. By the time the third hospital confirmed the diagnosis, I wasn't as panicked as I was the first time. I even calmly accompanied Kay to an award ceremony on a beach cruise. I went to the deck to get some air and saw Lily in a dazzling red dress, looking stunning under the lights like a blooming rose. That dress was the one I always wanted. I even showed it to Kay, saying I'd buy it one day. I guess I was used to being poor. When I finally could afford it, I didn't have the heart to buy it. Lily pointed at her dress and smiled at me. "Nice, right?" Kay bought it. I struggled to keep my smile. She stepped closer and whispered, "Nancy, thanks for raising Kay so well for me." Her words broke my heart. I didn't know what to say, or in what capacity I should speak. What was I to Kay? He never defined our relationship, always keeping it somewhere between friends and something more. Thinking back, it was so pathetic. My feelings and timid hopes seemed absurd. I answered calmly, not wanting to engage more. The deck was chilly, and I felt unwell. I wanted to go inside to warm up. Nancy, always so generous. Lily didn't give me a chance to leave. She walked toward me, the deck a little slippery. She slipped and fell, half her body dangling over the rail. Instinctively, I reached to pull her up. She stayed calm and said, "Nancy, let's see who Kay cares about more. The loser has to leave." I quickly realized her game, but it was too late. She pulled me down with her. The autumn sea was icy cold, and I struggled to stay afloat. Water filled my lungs as I desperately tried to keep from drowning in the freezing waves. Kay soon rushed over. He was a good swimmer. We had even trained together in Australia for a diving film, though my fear of water meant I only went in once and nearly choked to death. He once told me, "Nancy, as long as one of us can swim, you'll be safe with me." But now, I watched as he jumped in without hesitation, swimming straight to Lily without a glance at me. My heart sank. I knew he liked her, but after 7 years, did I mean nothing? As I was losing strength, a hand pulled me up. It was our company's CEO, Mike. He draped a jacket over me and said, "Nancy, you've been too good to someone ungrateful." I stayed silent, rushing to the changing room. I knew he was warning me, but my lungs felt like they were about to burst. In a quiet corner, I coughed so hard, blood appeared in my hand. I didn't have much time left, and the fall into the sea didn't help. I found a place in a nursing home. I didn't have anyone to call. My dad passed early, and my mom remarried Lily's dad. They were a family of 3, and I was the outsider. Every visit home was awkward, and my mom once asked, "Don't you have work to do? No need to exhaust yourself coming back." I learned to read the room. I hardly visited after that. There's nothing holding me back now, but I do regret my foolishness, ending up dependent on someone. I passed on K's work to others. He didn't even call, until the day before New Year's, when gossip about him and Lily was everywhere. Kay stepped up on Facebook to say Lily's a great actress, and shouldn't be harmed. He added that if anyone must target her, they could stop being his fans. Readings from his post blurred my eyes with tears. So this was love. He never loved me, and I lived in a delusion, foolishly imagining things. I recalled the time I was harassed online. It started when I appeared with him on a variety show to promote his movie. I couldn't hide my feelings. Guess love is hard to conceal. The internet exploded with posts analyzing that my gaze wasn't innocent. If it wasn't love, what was? This enraged his fans, and my personal info got exposed. They hurled all sorts of insults, questioning my intentions as his manager, and even my name. For the first time, I faced boundless abuse, all because of a look. Kay said nothing to defend me, only advising me not to mind the online fuss, that it would pass. Eventually, our company intervened. They are well respected, after all. They launched Kay with just one web series. His career fans backed off, not wanting to cross the company, and the hassle died down. Ridiculous that I thought he might not know I liked him. Perhaps I should focus on work. I lay in bed, and soon got a call from Kay. His voice pleading, "Nancy, help Lily, help me. She can't take this trolling." A short plea, yet it sickened me, disgusted me. It's impossible he didn't know I loved him. Impossible, right? Now he turns to me when there's trouble. Why should I help? I actually started recording the call as soon as he reached out. I tried hard to stay calm and said, "Meet me once, and I'll agree to it." In the end, I never saw him. Fireworks bloomed gloriously outside the window, seemingly lively, but I felt trapped. I sent that voice memo to Mike, along with some of the hints and pleas Kay had made in the past, like when he said, "Nancy, this project is really important to me. Nancy, you really matter to me." Kay really valued his reputation, and my death would be his biggest blemish. There were already rumors online speculating about our relationship, but I'd never said a bad word about him, all for this moment. I gave Mike this info without spelling it out. He knew exactly what to do. After I'm gone, all this would hang over Kay like a sword. I wanted him to worry day and night, watching as he fell from grace. Yes, I regret it. I regret giving him my heart, only to have my feelings trampled. He should pay for it. Only I don't have much time left. If I did, I'd pull him off his pedestal myself. My phone screen showed Mike's notifications asking where I was. Before I could reply, my mom called. She asked, "Nancy, you're busy this year too, right? No need to come home for New Year's." "I understand. Mom, I want some spare ribs." Lily's voice came through from the background. Lying in bed, I thought I was all out of tears, but still, one slipped out, trickling down to my earlobe, annoyingly cold. "Don't be afraid. I won't come looking for you again, ever. Don't be scared. I really won't be back," I said with all my strength, then hung up the phone. I was so exhausted, numb from the pain, too tired to even move, as darkness closed in. When I opened my eyes again, I realized that I'd been given another chance by fate. In a daze, I unlocked my phone. It was the phone from 5 years ago, and it was New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2017. Kay was supposed to be with me for New Year's today. We used to celebrate it together each year. We'd sit on the rooftop watching fireworks with a beer in hand, toasting to each other. "Here's to another year together. Thanks for being here with me." Amid the fireworks, the flirtation blossomed and faded. Kay draped his jacket over me, telling me to go to bed early. The way he looked at me was so tender that it was hard not to misread it. That was the year he started working with Lily. On New Year's Eve, he told me he had a film shoot, a very critical one that required night shifts. I even made soup for him. Later, I found out he was at a concert with Lily. I confronted him with photos. "Nancy, why can't I go to a concert with her? Can't I like her?" He caught me off guard, because we were only ever ambiguous, never official. I had no right to question him. From that year on, we never spent New Year's together. He was always too busy, and I was always helping with his work at different parties, exchanging drinks for movie contracts. He never asked, just recommended Lily to directors. He told me not to get emotional, to act professionally. He had no idea how much effort and energy I put into meeting those directors. No, he knew. He just only saw Lily. Lily was always the brilliant rose, and I was just a weed. People only see the roses. Who notices the weeds? Since their first collaboration, they never stopped working together, with at least one project every year. I watched them become the ultimate couple pairing. Even on variety shows, they'd be booked together, and I handled all the logistics. Kay told me it was just work. Just work. He had better options, but he always chose her as a first pick. His fondness for Lily was as blatant as my feelings for him. Their fans were even more numerous than many second-tier stars. Every time they teamed up, they did well, and they grew closer. He noticed her skin issues and recommended skincare products and beauticians. Kay's skin wasn't great back then. I'd scout out tons of skincare items from various places to try on myself first. Once, I had an allergic reaction, and my face broke out. He gently applied the cream and I reassured him, "It's fine, I'll try more. Your skin will get better. You'll be the most handsome actor." His skin improved so much that word spread among makeup artists about how he only needed his eyebrows done. He scored a ton of endorsements. Once, he gifted me a custom set of skincare products for women. I was thrilled for days. He would check in on how I was liking them. I was too oblivious to see it as anything but caring, until I saw the same set on Lily's vanity. So, I was his guinea pig all along. Kay used to say I was too tense, too driven by ambition, but who showed envy for other actors' opportunities. Sighed about his slow rise to fame. He was great at playing both sides. He disliked people like me, as his friend once said. My eyes were too ambitious, too goal-oriented. Not like Lily, innocent and effortless in her success. Like when I studied tirelessly, breaking out in acne, while she just needed to look cute, pay for private college, and smoothly enter the entertainment world. But he had no idea how much someone has to give for her easy ride. Lily entered the entertainment industry a year after Kay, just as I was starting to gain a foothold. Every time there's a tiny bit of negative news about Lily online, my mom calls to yell at me. She says if anything happens to Lily, how would she face Lily's dad? She goes on about how without Lily's dad, I wouldn't be where I am today. So, there I was, foolishly fixing every problem, thinking I owed them. But later, I found out I didn't owe them anything. My tuition and living expenses were covered by insurance my dad left. He had a critical illness policy worth $400,000 that paid out upon diagnosis. He opted to endure pain to ensure I was taken care of. I discovered this truth by accident in a previous life, when I went back to his hometown and overheard a conversation. It's ironic how my mom used this to manipulate me over the years, claiming she supported me financially. But it was really my dad, sacrificing his life for my upbringing. I look around the upscale downtown apartment I woke up in. It's a joke. What's my relationship with him now? I moved in to help out, making sure he had meals tailored to him that wouldn't make him gain weight. I would pre-select 3 to 5 outfits for his daily outings. I knew him better than he knew himself. He was comfortable with my dedication. Even a nanny gets paid, yet he contributed nothing. My salary came from the company. So, while he was out, I quickly packed up and left. Checking my bank account balance, I figured I was okay. Kay had just become a hit, so as his manager, I got a decent cut. Besides, I don't spend much. I treated myself to a full spa day, and allowed myself to finally sleep peacefully, no longer afraid of missing some crisis in the middle of the night. Waking up around 9 a.m., I saw my phone flooded with missed calls and Instagram messages. Most were from Kay, asking where I was and why he couldn't find me. I texted back, at my own place, "I'm just your manager, remember?" Then shut my phone off. Now it's time to take care of myself. I even booked a full medical checkup. Thankfully, nothing seems wrong, probably because I woke up earlier this time around. I realized the importance of self-care. Illness is painful, and nothing matters more than my own well-being. Once my health was confirmed, I met with Mike to hand over KS management. He was surprised but signed off swiftly, saying, "Nancy, no takebacks. But don't worry, we'll compensate you." By afternoon, a new artist approached me, Nina, one of the company's top talents. I was floored by this stroke of luck. Had I known earlier, I would have ditched Kay sooner. Besides Nina, there's a rising star, Judy, all under my management now. Before I could bask in the joy, Kay intercepted me outside. His brow was furrowed, his soulful eyes accusing me of betrayal as usual. So typical of him, trying to take the upper hand. I told him to step aside, but he stubbornly blocked my way. "Why, Nancy, did I upset you?" he finally asked. I shot back, "You still don't know." He seemed bewildered, desperately searching for an answer. "Kay, you put yourself out there. Don't blame me for being straightforward." I sized him up and pointed out, "You're just not worth it. How can you compare with Nina or Judy?" I'd always protected his ego, but now I aimed to destroy it. I knew exactly what cut deep for him. "Nancy, you care about those things," he said, hurt, disbelief all over his face. "What should I care about then?" I taunted, lifting his chin. "Do you have anything else worthwhile?" I misjudged the person. He slapped my hand away and stormed off. "Sam," I called out, "return the name." Just hearing Kay makes me sick. Back when he first started, we fought hard for a role. He shed 30 pounds, risking his mental health, but the director changed their mind, saying they needed someone less thin for certain scenes. We were toyed with by someone wielding power. Sam endured in silence and was eventually rejected again. He shut himself in his room for a week. I exhausted every method to console him, with no results. I learned many stars change names for luck, often by an expert in X City. I camped outside his place for 3 days without meeting him. Sam dragged me back angrily, telling me not to be superstitious. But at night, he drank alone on the rooftop. When I found him, he told me it might be time to give up. I held his hand firmly. "No wasted time. You will shine. You will make it big. Under a sky full of stars." He seemed so defeated. I promised, "If luck doesn't find you, I'll bring it to you. I'm a pretty lucky person myself. How about I give you a stage name? How about Kay?" I explained a bunch, and he laughed, saying I was too superstitious. But the next day, he went to the company and applied to use that name. Since then, he's been on the rise, blowing up like crazy. Along with that came fans who kept attacking me online. They said I was a heartless capitalist, just exploiting their idol, making him take on so much work. Dad, if you're watching me from heaven, please rest easy and live your new life. Sorry for worrying you. I'll live well and take care of myself. Sam didn't hold out for 3 days before he came looking for me again. He called me, stubbornly asking why. He said he could become a best actor. Hilarious. What does his becoming best actor have to do with me? But then I remembered he had a project, the final work of an art film director, and they hadn't cast the leading actress. In my previous life, he secretly recommended Lily, boosting her from a second-tier star to best actress. It was a big step for her career. Thinking about this, I mused, who wouldn't want to manage Nina? Besides her, I've only got Judy, and the competition among popular stars is fierce, I said, sighing. After hanging up, I continued my therapy. Health is the cornerstone of everything. Soon after, Sam brought me Judy's contract. I remembered in the last life, I gave him my all, but he always chose Lily. Now, with just a little playing hard to get, he immediately turned to me. Of course, I happily accepted the contract he brought, telling him to wait for news. When the movie wrapped, he asked when he could rejoin me as his manager. I smiled mildly and replied, when did I ever say I'd manage you again? Isn't this your compensation for the hard work I've done for you? Manager, my foot. He wants a 24 hours personal assistant. Not happening. When I got him to arrange the contract, I anticipated this. Isn't this his usual tactic anyway? Say nothing. Always leave room for maneuver. Whatever you think, I'm not responsible. It's time he tasted his own medicine. Judy, on the other hand, is sweet. She takes me along with her on beauty and wellness journeys. Managing her for just a few months feels like I could live another decade. The movie, as expected, was a hit shortly after release, propelling Judy to new heights. That evening, Mike brought good wine to my place. Looking at the full fridge, I said, Judy got all that. I can't cook. Let's eat out. I can't believe I used to cook for an ungrateful person daily. Now, I'm done cooking for guys. Unless the big boss pays. Then he walked past me, into the kitchen, saying, no worries, I'll cook. One sentence made my heart flutter. Honestly, Mike's always intimidated me a bit, because since I met him, he seemed so cunning and shrewd. Almost every best actor and actress is in our company, yet people are still intimidated by him. But really, what could he want from a broke person like me? He's not getting any money from me. I guess he noticed me catapulting Judy and bringing another best actress to the company and saw my capability. Mike can easily switch between strategies. To win me over, he's willing to get personally involved. Clearly, Sam was holding me back. After kicking him out, my career took off, and even the boss is noticing me differently. And Mike, wow, he can cook like a pro. I was surprised that he remembered what I don't eat. Standing there, I couldn't help think if I had underestimated myself in the past. Why else would the boss put in so much effort to keep me? At the table, he was giving me food and asked what reward I wanted. Honestly, I couldn't think of anything right away, but it's an opportunity. Miss it, and it's gone. Rewards. Money is always good, but what's boss's limit? Anything I want. I looked at him with stars in my eyes. He seemed a bit awkward. Maybe it was the wine. His face looked a bit red. Under the light, I saw his fair skin paired with those deep features. Weirdly enchanting. I swallowed hard, charmed by looks. That's dangerous. Before I got too swept up by his charm, I quickly said, boss, you know, what else could I lack besides money? I looked at him, pretending to be pitiful. Just when I was setting the mood, the doorbell rang. Opening it, I saw Sam's face that seemed less handsome. Proof enough that I nurtured that beauty with my heart and soul. Glancing at the mirror beside me, I saw my reflection. So this is what happens when you invest time in yourself. How am I so good looking? I couldn't believe how I looked. Worrying over an ungrateful guy aged me 10 years. What a fool I was. Sam's eyes were red, looking forlorn, and he held out his Best Actor trophy, saying, Nancy, take the trophy, all for you. Come back to me. I was thinking about what to say to mock him when Mike walked over. Standing behind me, silent but overwhelming, he gave me an indescribable confidence. Sam's face twisted as he said, so, Nancy, you're leaving me for him. He said it with a smile, pretending he was deeply in love. Leaving you? I was just your manager, right? Besides that, did we ever have any other relationship? I used his own words against him. Watching his hurt and bewildered eyes, I took Mike's hand and said, what makes you think you can compare to Mike? Sam looked at me, furious. I just had to humiliate him. I couldn't bear being played like that. He fled under our pressure. Closing the door, I realized I was still holding the boss's hand. As I was about to let go, Mike pushed me against the wall and forced me to look into his eyes, saying, Nancy, use me and toss me aside. Huh. For the first time, I saw such clear defiance in Mike's eyes. My courage faltered. Mike, sorry, I've lived 2 lives, and yet I got scared like that. It's all right. I allow you to use me, willingly, he added with a deep, magnetic voice. It got to me. Mike's breath on my ear. He softly called my name, Nancy. What do you think of me? His hand hadn't left my waist. I wasn't sure how to respond, stuttering, you're dashing, a pure gentleman. How could ordinary folks dare covet you? I want you to covet me. We finished dinner not knowing what it tasted like, but Mike didn't press on too much. He said he would give me time to think. That night, I ended up getting his personal profile along with a SWOT analysis. If I hadn't stopped him in time, he probably would have sent me a PowerPoint presentation about his strengths, and why choosing him was a good move. But this guy is a real boss, no doubt about it. Along with that pile of documents, he threw in a 7-figure bonus for me. He just said that he thought I'd been working too hard over the past few years and deserved a break, and that he wanted me to think about him without distractions. Me. The price of being distraction-free seems pretty tempting. Maybe it was that I never had to deal with Lily again in this life, or maybe I snagged a role in the biggest blockbuster yet. Her reputation went downhill. There was even a hashtag online saying, "Lily, get out of the entertainment industry." My mom was super worried, kept calling me like crazy for the first time ever, insisting I come home for dinner. I knew it would be a trap, but for once, I felt like standing up for myself. The table was full of food, and my mom was still hustling in the kitchen. She had mangoes ready for both me and Lily. "Lily, you love mangoes the most, right?" My mom looked at Lily with that loving gaze. "Nancy, you have some too." She awkwardly glanced at me, but I didn't touch it. "I'm allergic to mangoes." I told her multiple times, but she never remembered. She'd always give me Lily's leftover mangoes. If I didn't eat them, she'd yell at me, yank my ear, slap my face, and ask what right I had to be picky in this house. She'd force open my mouth, shoving the mangoes in, and at night I'd break out in rashes, swollen and itchy. No matter how much I scratched, I couldn't stop itching. So whenever Lily ate mangoes, I'd avoid home using any excuse. The last dish my mom brought out was oil-braised prawns. It made me sad for a moment, because I'm allergic to shrimp too, but I was used to it by now. She first served several prawns to Lily, saying, "I went to the biggest fresh market this morning just to pick these out, because I know you love them." "Thanks, Mom," Lily replied with a smile. I looked at them like a stranger watching a sweet mother-daughter moment. Eventually, my mom seemed to recall my existence and placed a prawn in my bowl too. I put down my chopsticks, propping my head as I watched their lovely family scene unfold. Finally, my mom couldn't hold back. "Nancy, aren't you close with that Mike guy? Help Lily out. How can you just let your sister get so attacked?" she said, sounding angry. Attacked. Lily got criticized mainly for stirring up fake relationships, and she totally did that. I smiled and calmly asked my mom, "Why should I? If not for your uncle, do you really think you'd be where you are now?" She kept up with her usual narrative. "Did I really use my uncle's money?" "Nancy, what are you talking about? Aren't you afraid my dad will come for you all one day?" I stared into my mom's eyes. "I gave birth to you, and this is how you talk to me." She screamed at me, ashamed and enraged. "Apologize," I said calmly. "What did you say?" "Nancy, who are you asking to apologize?" My mom was about to throw a bowl at me. "You wouldn't dare." I glared at her, not backing down. "Nancy, do you think this is a place to throw a tantrum?" The bowl didn't hit me. She hurled it to the ground instead. "Apologize. Apologize to me. I want you to say sorry." My whole body shook, and tears streamed down, particularly towards my soft spots. I felt pitiful, just like a worm, to be so spineless. Clenching my palms, I tried to steady my voice, threatening her. "Otherwise, I'll expose everything. Believe me, what Lily's facing now is just an appetizer." "Nancy, you wouldn't dare." "You wouldn't," my mom said as she got up to move towards me. I stood up and kicked the table over. "Wouldn't I? What can't I dare to do? Go ahead and try me." All three stood, silent, staring, especially my mom, glaring at me as if I was her sworn enemy. "Apologize? Don't know how. Isn't this what you've made me do all my life?" Whether it was my fault or not, wasn't it always me apologizing? I questioned her, one word at a time. "Nancy, have you gone mad today?" Her tone finally softened, obviously lacking confidence. "Did I really spend half of Dad's money? What makes you think you can hoard the money he risked his life for? What kind of person are you?" "Nancy, back then, you were young. I just didn't want you to be upset." My mom tried to explain, reaching for my hand. One look from me made her retreat. "Aren't you scared my dad will come for you all one day?" "Apologize. All of you owe me an apology. You should know, Mike and I are together. He's been proposing lately. I could make sure everyone knows your family's dirty secrets." I sat back down, crossed my legs, and spoke confidently. "Thanks to Mike discreetly stirring things up online, I'm bluffing with his influence. A proposal. Someone at Mike's level isn't proposing so easily, but they don't know that. Today, I'm making them apologize." "Nancy, I'm your mother." My mom was almost in tears when she said this. "You remember you're my mom. I thought Lily was your only child." I looked up at her with utmost sarcasm. She stared at me in such a way that made me feel deeply irritated, like I wanted to destroy everything they held dear. I got up, ready to leave. My mom rushed over, grabbing hold of me. "Where are you going? What are you planning? You wretched brat." Her words made me tremble with anger, but I just pried her fingers off one by one. I'm sorry, it's me who owes you. Don't go after Lily. It's all my fault, Nancy. She finally caved, but I didn't feel the joy I expected. It's like my happiness was long stolen and destroyed. I feel like I'll never be happy again. She apologized to me, for Lily. Did you know I never begged you to bring me into this world? If you didn't love me, why did you bring me into this life? Why do you treat me like this? Do you have any conscience? I couldn't contain myself, asking her over and over until she kept backing away. But I knew she didn't care about any of that. If I could choose, I'd rather never have been born into this world, or as your child. Finishing all that, I left that battleground. I probably won't ever come back again. After leaving the house, I wiped my tears away furiously, constantly reminding myself not to cry. Having gained so much for nothing, I couldn't squander it. Mike called me and asked where I was. For a moment, I really wanted to see him. When he asked what I was doing, I avoided the question and just said, I want your ribs. My voice was a bit choked. He tenderly reassured me, sure. Where are you? I'll pick you up and take you home for dinner. The more gentle he was, the more I wanted to cry. I sobbed as I gave him my location. Sitting on the curb with my head in my hands, I suddenly saw a pair of feet appear in front of me. I thought it was Mike, but when I looked up, it was Sam. Nancy, don't cry. I'm here, he said, pretending to be serious. I stood up, wiped my tears, and snapped, what? You see me like this and think I'm as cheap as before. Just a bit of kindness from you, and I'll come running. Did you enjoy watching me make a fool of myself before? Easier and cheaper than having a pet dog, huh? Nancy, no, it's not like that, he stammered, reaching out to hug me. I dodged swiftly. If it's not like that, then what is it? You think so highly of yourself, huh? You look down on me, think I'm cheap, yet you use me. You're not even as good as. Nancy, what are you saying? He grabbed my arm, looking anguished. I yanked away, slapped him, and said, if you follow me again, it'll be more than just a slap. Right after, Mike arrived, and I composed myself before saying, my boyfriend is here to pick me up. Get a clue. I walked to Mike as he opened the car door for me. He didn't ask about what happened. He just drove, saying softly, Nancy, should we go buy ribs and make them for you? Like a robot, I let him lead me to buy groceries. Then we went back to my cozy little place. He cooked in the kitchen while I lay in the rocking chair, swaying to my favorite music. The smell of the food wafted out, calming my restless and tired heart. For a moment, I felt like time could just stop right here. He soon brought out the food, serving me while narrating his day's funny events, making the boring stories unexpectedly hilarious. He wiped my mouth and said seriously, next time, tell me right away. After dinner, I sat in the living room drinking tea, watching him wash dishes under the warm orange light. Without realizing it, I walked closer, hugged him from behind, buried my head in his back. He smelled pleasantly like ink. Nancy, his body stiffened a bit. Mike, I think I kinda like you, I murmured against his back. He turned, holding me, delight twinkling in his eyes. Those eyes, usually calm like deep water, now rippled, irresistibly drawing me in. And just like that, I looked up and kissed him. It's embarrassing to admit, but this was the first time I'd tasted a man, even after living two lives. I kissed him cluelessly, biting his lip in the process. He didn't get mad. Instead, he took charge, leaving me defenseless. I suddenly wondered why Mike never had a girlfriend all these years, with rumors saying he was either frigid or into men. But tonight, I learned how unreliable gossip can be. When I woke up, he had already made breakfast. What kind of CEO is this? Impressive in every room. What did I do to deserve this? I rushed to wash up, but felt something against my face. It couldn't be. My skin's well cared for. My hands shouldn't be rough. Then I noticed a huge diamond ring on my ring finger, nearly blinding me. Oh my gosh, how much is this worth? But why on my ring finger? I must be overthinking. Someone like Mike wouldn't be dumb enough to get married. I took off the ring, held it up to Mike, and said, thanks. Calling him boss felt awkward, so I awkwardly said, thanks, Mike. First thing in the morning, as goosebumps rose. Nancy, you agreed. He ran over, joyful, and spun me around. I'm not as young anymore. Almost got dizzy. Agreed to what? I got a bit nervous. Marry me, he said. No. Let's eat. The porridge is getting cold. He interrupted, pulling me to the table. Help. He seems scared I'll change my mind. He's more into this than I am. Though I've never tried marriage, I sneaked a look at Mike. Actually, he's pretty great. Marrying him doesn't seem like a loss. If it doesn't work out, I can always relax later on. No loss here. That night, exhausted, I sprawled on the bed. Mike finally left. I couldn't even lift my arm. The worst part was him saying he'd come over tomorrow to take care of me again. more tiring than a marathon. Just about to drift off, Judy called. Said Sam had a car accident. Karma, finally. But there's more. Judy said cautiously. Sis, you should check online. I logged onto Facebook, almost losing it. He's like a curse. He gets into an accident, and his toxic fans attack me online. The slap I gave him was caught on camera. His extreme fans cluttered my private account, calling me all sorts of names, saying I was gold digging and dumped their brother. Before I had a chance to react, Mike already responded on Facebook. He harassed my wife. If I'd been there, he wouldn't just be in the hospital. I still haven't tied the knot, though. Twitter exploded. Mike and Nancy's marriage first in trending. Second is Mike's threat about hospitalizing Sam. Third, Sam's hospitalization. Comments filled with Mike's main account arguing with haters. I quickly posted a response. I'm just Sam's agent. Wasn't I right to hit him for stalking? Humph, I won't let him save face. He's done nothing but cause trouble in both lives. But I underestimated his fans' vigor. Sam called right after waking up, asking me to the hospital for a checkup. Maybe his brain was rattled. I ignored him, spending my days with Mike instead. Mike makes healthy meals for me every day, and we work out together a lot. I feel way healthier, like I could knock out Sam with one punch now. It took me a while to realize Mike and I went to the same high school. He told me I was too focused on Sam to notice him back then. In my defense, I was dealing with Lily and her gang harassing me. I couldn't see anyone else. Sam saved the day by saying he'd have my back, and things got better for me. I wanted to explain this to Mike, but suddenly, two girls rushed at me, and one had a fruit knife. Mike stepped in front of me just in time, and we both fell. He held me tight, shielding me from harm. I was terrified, covered in his blood. At the hospital, I sat outside the surgery room, feeling like my world was falling apart. Doctors said he hit his head when he fell and asked me to sign consent for surgery. They wanted to know who I was to him. I frantically claimed to be his wife, remembering how he'd been hinting about getting a marriage certificate. I was scared then, so I hesitated. Now, I couldn't even sign for his surgery. Mike's brother ended up signing. Mike didn't wake up after the operation. I talked to him every day. You said you'd marry me. Please wake up. The doctors said if he didn't wake up in 3 days, it would be very dangerous. Mike's brother mentioned a will, and I was the main heir. I didn't want to hear it. I kept begging Mike. I don't want the money. Just wake up. I told him how much I liked him, way more than I ever admitted. I didn't know what to do if he stopped liking me, but none of that mattered now. Knowing he liked me made me so happy. Sam barged in, and I was filled with rage seeing him. I regretted not dealing with him sooner. Nancy, I'm sorry, he started, but I'd had enough and stabbed him with the fruit knife. Why wasn't it you who got hurt? What do you want from me? Let me make it up to you, Nancy. I deserve it, Sam said, pulling me towards the stairs. As I turned away, he fell down the stairs. He survived even after being stabbed, standing up. I watched coldly as he cried, claiming he remembered everything and apologized. I couldn't care less. I turned and left. The next day, Mike still hadn't woken up. I sat by him, almost out of tears, feeling lost. Lily showed up, taunting me about losing my protector. She mentioned how Mike defended me even in high school. Enraged, I hit her. You don't get to talk about him. Shocked, she ran out. I never knew Mike had protected me all along. Did you hear that, Mike? You have to wake up. They'll bully me without you. I pleaded desperately. His hand suddenly grasped mine, and he whispered, who dares to bully you? Epilogue. Sam first heard about Nancy's death when his company was dropping him. Though he was famous, he knew why he rose to fame in the first place. The entertainment industry's quick turnover made him anxious. He tried contacting Nancy, the person he avoided before because he couldn't forget her disappointed gaze. He reasoned that it wouldn't matter if she criticized him, as they weren't exactly a couple. But it didn't stop his panic. Gathering courage, he called Nancy, only for Mike to answer, saying, she's dead, before hanging up. Sam kept trying to reach him, but Mike was unreachable. After a month of waiting outside Mike's house, Sam finally confronted him, begging for any news of Nancy. Desperate, Sam offered a 20-year contract, just for information. Mike brushed him off, reminding him of Nancy's impact on his career. Talking wasn't Mike's thing, but he couldn't forget finding Nancy lifeless in a hospital bed. It frustrated him more that she still wanted to trade favors at the end. Nancy didn't realize Mike would have done anything for her if she'd just asked. He completely destroyed Sam with the wildest methods, without caring about the cost. At that time, every time Sam opened a social app, there were all kinds of insults. Nancy's death darkened the feathers he'd carefully nurtured over the years. His new agent urged him to cooperate with their PR efforts, but he couldn't keep his composure on camera anymore. He numbly said, "They're all right. It was me who wanted success and fame. I used her. She gave me the ultimate payback. I didn't even get to see her one last time." He thought of that last call, blew all his money in the entertainment industry, and went to an island. But Mike had wiped all traces of information here. He sat at their meeting spot, and the sea breeze was relentless. Suddenly, the world felt so cold. All the power and fame he desired so much no longer seemed appealing. He kept calling her name, Nancy. Nancy, come out, come out. He spent 3 days and nights there, finding no trace of Nancy. But Mike finally showed up. He begged him again, throwing away his dignity. But Mike just kicked him to the ground, and, choking back some emotion, said, "I don't want anything. No fame, no wealth. Can't I just know where she's buried? Just tell me that, and you can do whatever you want with me." Mike sneered, "Without blind Nancy, do you even have wealth, fame?" He crushed his dignity bit by bit. Sam stayed on the island, watching the sunrise and sunset, cutting ties with everyone. Lily tried to reach out to him, and he just mocked her. "Didn't you always want to win? You've won. So why come after me now? Remember, everything was your choice. Did I force you? You loved her so much. Why don't you go join her?" Lily, already angry at Sam's avoidance, couldn't hold back her retort. After a night, she felt guilty. Sam was her last key to turning things around. So she bit back her pride, went to see him, and found him lying in bed with a smile. She was instinctively chilled to the bone. "Sam, Sam," she called. As she slowly approached and touched him, he was already stiff. When others found her, she was delirious, shouting, "It wasn't me. It was his choice. Nancy, don't haunt me. Nancy, let me go. Nancy, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Please let me go." She was convinced Nancy took Sam away, because she'd heard that those who suffered greatly in life become vengeful spirits in death. Nancy's mom came to care for her, and she frantically grabbed her, saying, "Nancy, take your mom with you. Nancy, it was her fault your life was so miserable. She didn't even love her own kid, and that's why you suffered. Nancy, don't haunt me. Your mom was only nice to me to please my dad. Go find her." Nancy's mom, usually cold and aloof, was caught off guard for the first time. She cried, holding back, "Nancy, how could you be so heartless? I'm your mom. Why didn't you tell me?" She kept asking, but nobody could answer her. Lily's dad heard and lashed out. Nancy was a jinx. She's dead, but she still ruined Lily like this. That comment set her off. She lunged, hitting the man she'd cared for over a decade, crying and cursing. "Are you even human? Do you fear no karma? Are you a beast?" Usually, she was sweet and understanding. Suddenly she snapped, and the man shoved her. The force threw her against a cabinet, breaking her head open. Seeing his look of disgust, she wailed, "Nancy, do you see it? My karma came. Are you satisfied now? Nancy, find a better life next time. I promise I won't bother you again." That night, she managed to get Lily to sleep. The living room was eerily silent. She saw the plate of mangoes and remembered the small Nancy who'd come to live with them. Lily's dad often argued with her over Nancy. The only will left by Nancy's dad was for her, making her wonder why she even gave birth to her. Besides pain, what else did she bring? So she forced her to eat the leftover mangoes. Later, fearing something might happen, she put allergy meds in the water. She knew exactly what she was doing, but couldn't stop herself. She loathed herself, but the more she did, the more she wanted Nancy to suffer more than her. It was her only reprieve. Nancy eventually drifted away, treating her worse than a stranger. She even feared her, but the more she did, the angrier she got. She kept provoking her, wanting Nancy to beg and plead so she might stop, but she couldn't control herself. Seeing Nancy swelled her urge to harm. Only when Nancy was truly gone did she seem to wake from a dream. She realized what she'd done. She grabbed the mangoes, stuffing them into her mouth. She'd always been allergic, and after a few bites, her skin itched. There was a whole box in the kitchen. She brought them out. Before, to win Lily over, she'd peel them with gloves. Now, she shoveled them in one by one, crying as she ate, "Nancy, Mom's avenged you." By the time she'd eaten most of the box, her throat felt swollen, and breathing became difficult. Crawling, she made her way to Nancy's old tiny room. All the blankets she used are still there. He always kept them for her, but would say those cruel things to her. She felt she must be crazy. Lying on her bed, she could vaguely see Nancy when she first arrived, timid and afraid to look people in the eye. She reached out her hand and said, "Nancy, don't be scared. Mama will take care of you. When Sam woke up, he was first in disbelief, then overwhelmed with sobs. He actually got another chance. He thought he had to treat her well this time. He remembered her health and kept calling her, wanting her to get a physical. She came back so early this time. She wouldn't end up the same way as last time. But she had already blocked him. When she saw him, her expression was one of utter disgust. He had started to guess what had happened but couldn't admit it. He couldn't believe fate would give him a do-over, yet his Nancy would turn out this way. As he slowly realized she ignored online gossip just to sleep in peace, he still lied to himself. He thought she must be taking care of her body now, and that was a good thing. But as she and Mike got closer, he confronted her. She simply snapped at him, "That's none of your business. What's it got to do with you?" There was nothing between them to hold on to. What right did he have to question her? Yet, he had brought all of this on himself. Eventually, he faced the truth. He was certain she was reborn too. But fate mocked him, bringing him back too late, without a chance to make things right. The time when she and Mike got hurt, his fear was extreme, rushing to the hospital. Instead, she asked why he wasn't the one who died. He never knew someone could feel heartache like that. The words he had turned over and over in his mind died in his throat. He had indeed done those things. No excuses or justifications could clear his name. He watched her stab herself without flinching. There wasn't any heartache. He couldn't fool himself anymore. She truly loved Mike. He dragged her to watch as he was punished, but she didn't even give him an expression. Holding on to one last hope, he cried out, "Nancy, I remember everything now. Nancy, you used to like me. You did like me." All she answered with was her cold look. "What does you remembering have to do with me?" A person can love so recklessly, blindly diving into danger, not caring about the cost. But when she stopped loving, she could be so cold and heartless. Sam didn't know what to do. Life is not a script, and maybe there's no happy ending for them. Later on, he apologized to her online, listing all the wrongs he did to her. Laughably, fans praised him for being devoted. He wished it were true, instead of once being all about chasing fame and fortune. He and she never crossed paths again. When she got married, he didn't even have the right to attend. Watching her radiant smile in a wedding dress online, he went insane with jealousy. He had had the chance to win that. He had given his Lily to another himself. He had little worth living for. But then he remembered how she once said she liked how he shined. So he threw himself into work, taking on any challenging role. He drank himself into the hospital just to land good contracts. He finally won all the unreachable awards, but standing on stage, he felt hopelessly alone. The girl whose eyes used to light up for him was gone. Along with fame came illness. Before 40, he was diagnosed with late-stage stomach cancer. Eating became difficult, mostly surviving on liquids. He wrote a will to leave everything to her, but she refused it. In his last days, he borrowed a nurse's phone to plead with her, "Nancy, can you see me one last time?" No was her immediate answer before hanging up. He waited on his deathbed, never getting to see her.